Hello, good evening, Star Wars fans. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Ben, and in light of everything that's been happening this last month, I've been through the ringer. We've all been through the ringer trying to figure all this stuff out. And in light of all the negativity, I've decided that we're going to try to be positive. Me and my good friend here, Alex.
Fan of the prequels, the sequels, and the OT. Here for all your entertainment.
I'm a prequelist as well. I do love them. So anyway, we're just gonna kind of get into this and just try to be, and just like talk about stuff because we love talking about Star Wars. So anyway, we were kind of wanted to I expressed my grievances in another video about Battlefront and about all the things that I went through personally on it. It was an okay game. It was fun. It was all right. I wanted more out of the Star Wars game. I was mostly psyched to actually play with Maul. Play with Maul. So, but it's just one of those things that I personally didn't appreciate. I didn't love the game. I didn't love it. It's beautiful. The music is amazing. All these things, but I just didn't love the game. I tried falling in love with Iden Versio. I did read the Battlefront book, the prequel to that. And I couldn't get into it. I tried to. The Iden Versio story was okay. It could have been better. That's just all my thing on it. But anyway, I think I was spoiled by The Force Unleashed. Both Force Unleashed 1 and 2. I just love those games so much that I was looking for something more like that, or at least something of that adventure spirit.
While it's a completely different play style, I can agree. The Force Awakens, as far as the lore, the Star Wars feel, it's all there. The EA Battlefront 2, we can all agree, it looks good. They have the soundtrack. It sounds great. It looks good, but the microtransactions screwed it over. I personally haven't gotten too far into the campaign, mainly because I really couldn't. Played a little into it, and I'm not too big of a video game fan, but I love Star Wars. I should have been hooked on it. I care less. I care less about it. Yeah.
And didn't we say? I think ultimately it was supposed to be 9 million, or no? Projection was supposed to sell 10 million copies. Only sold 9 million, etc. So anyway, but I think my biggest grievances with Battlefront 2 was the fact that they had Han, Luke, and Leia, and none of them really. Well, Leia was, in my personal opinion, the closest to being and to sounding and looking like Leia, but Han and Luke just didn't even. Anyway, that's just my own original trilogy, biases and my whatever. But anyway, that's just my thing about it. So I don't know. It's as we discussed before, Mark Hamill was busy, on Octube,
doing the blue titty monster.
Yeah, doing his thing while
Yeah, just out and about. He too busy being the new Luke. Not voice acting.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things is they could have had both Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill in this game, but rather than probably pay them, they just had these other voices. And it was fine. But it's just if you're gonna go all out, get Harrison Ford, get Mark Hamill, and do their freaking voices. You don't have to necessarily motion capture them because they're old or whatever, but it's get their real voices in there. That's my 2 cents on it. It's if you're gonna go that far. And make an awesome video game with Han, Luke, and Leia in it. Get their actual real voices in there. They got Leia in Rebels. They got in Rebels anyway. So that's just my 2 cents on it. I wish that it could have been a better game. Was very disappointed with it. Anyway, really quick, Rebels. Do you think that they're actually going to kill Ezra, or do you think they're going to keep him alive?
I would love to see Ezra turn to the dark side. I would love that so much. And I think we all can see that from when he first started messing with the Sith holocrons, when he first meets Darth Maul. The whole battle with Darth Vader and Ahsoka, he gets to kind of feel Vader's power. So there's that draw to the dark side. Oh, man, I'd love it. I'd love to see that.
I was feeling that at the beginning of, I think, Season 3, and they were showing him a lot, especially when, my apprentice, he becomes Darth Maul's apprentice.
Yeah.
But I just don't think they'll do it. It's a Disney show. It's for kids. Ezra is your protagonist. I would say I'm pretty much 99.9% positive that they are not going to have Ezra return just because he's your protagonist. But however, if they have him live, it will defeat all of what's necessary for Luke. It'll defeat the whole need for Luke.
Spoiler alert: Ezra is Snoke's. Dun dun dun.
No,
He's several Snokes. The Snoke family fun trap. Anyway, I don't know if anybody has any crazy thoughts about Rebels. I mean, I like Rebels. I was much more of a fan of the Clone Wars. I'm a much more of a Clone Wars guy than a Rebels guy. I know that a lot of people love Rebels. It's a good show. I like Rebels. I just prefer Clone Wars. I think Ahsoka is one of the greatest characters in Star Wars lore and Star Wars history and canon. I really think. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents on it. Between those two, which do you prefer?
I love Clone Wars, but I love how they brought the good Clone War characters into Rebels, such as Ahsoka, Hondo. Like, dude, there was rumors that Hondo might be in the Solo movie.
I don't think they'll do that either. I don't think they'll. And just forgive my pessimism. But in showing, just think about it for a second. The track record that Lucasfilm has had with the past 3 movies that they made 3 films now, 3 full-length features, and they've had, this is the 4th season of Rebels. Like, have they had any of the same characters? Okay, so they had Saw Gerrera, so that's the one character, So
Cody, Commander Cody, he's the clone trooper. He's in the movies.
Which movie is he in?
He's in episode 3 when he gives Obi-Wan his lightsaber back after he falls off the.
Is that confirmed that it's
Commander Cody? Because
when little pocket Darth Sidious pops out, right? That meme that everyone sees. What the fuck was in my book? That meme. He's like, Commander Cody, activate, execute Order 66.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't see
his face though.
So forgive me again. Was Cody? He was in the Clone Wars, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, just like it's been
yeah, Commander Cody's in the Clone Wars. Saul Guerrera's in the Clone Wars. Yeah. But the more you mention it, you're totally right.
And just my 2 cents on it. Just like from the things that I've kind of been working on, something like all the books, all the other things that they want to make this integrated thing, this integrated universe, and I get it. I'm all for it, and that's what I think everybody was excited for. I just think that the biggest problem is that you don't. They're not doing the payoff that we all want. They're not giving us the payoff that we want of seeing those characters show up in the movies. Like everybody was saying, Ezra's character becomes, or people wanted it to be Ezra to become. What's his name? DJ in The Last Jedi. People were speculating that he become, before it came out, everything, but I just not gonna. Anyway, so moving on. And by the way, on this channel, we're going to be doing some Rebels videos and just talking about Rebels as they come out in the next few weeks. Anyway, on to The Last Jedi, and I know that everybody's been making these videos. It's something that I have to do. I have to talk about it just because it's something that chaps my hide. But anyway, just to kind of sum everything up. Before we continue with that, did you have anything to add more about Rebels or Clone Wars?
Watch it if you already haven't. Watch Clone Wars. I mean, you can't be like, I'm a Star Wars fan and not watch Clone Wars. I mean, the first season you gotta drudge through a little bit, but you will get into it. There's so much lore. Yoda talks to Darth Bane, if I'm correct.
Who was played by Mark Hamill?
By Mark Hamill. So that was like one of the first where they confirmed Sith ghosts, and now kind of a segue into The Last Jedi. If you've looked at the illustration books, how there's an illustration of Luke, and then kind of a Sith ghost entity in the background, preluding to more to come.
Which would be really interesting, and we're going to get into that. I want to get into that, man. I want to get into that with you for sure. Let's just move on to this thing. So, just my thought of this whole thing is like, the one thing that could have needed to be done was get Luke right. That's all it is. And I think one of the biggest things I was thinking about this day and how I would kind of present this is like you have to. I think what the biggest problem is that we're all invested in Luke. Like, all Star Wars fans are invested. That's the reason why people were so hurt and lashed out and got so upset, because people don't know how to deal with this. I didn't know how to react because we felt like Luke was mistreated, and as a result, we feel like we were mistreated at the same time. So anyway, I think it's just because you're invested. We are invested in that character,
and partly because we all can agree that the reason for him becoming the way he was. I mean, dude, we grew up with Luke, where scruffy nerf herder, whiny farm boy on Tatooine, right? Here we go at The Empire Strikes Back, where he begins his training, he goes against Vader. Here we go to Return of the Jedi, where he is so confident and he is so sure, and he knows that there's good in Vader still, and we all can agree that
it was just a crappy move.
It was just a misinterpretation. And I don't think Rian Johnson is a bad filmmaker. I was actually so excited about this thing when I heard that Rian Johnson was doing it, as so many of us were. We were excited. We were psyched that Rian Johnson was going to be doing it, because I'm a fan of Looper. I loved Brothers Bloom, all his other films, Brick. I think he's a great filmmaker. He's a great writer and great director. I just think that he should have given it a little bit more thought. Anyway, it's beside the point. And, it's just like you got to get that one character right. So anyway, just going down everything. This is, of course, I'm just going through some of these images here and just talking about them. This was a pretty amazing scene. It was beautiful, like everybody said. Were you a fan of the Gorilla Walkers?
I'm a fan of the Gorilla Walkers. I'm not a fan of the name ATM6.
Is that what it is?
I'm pretty sure
what is
someone's gonna correct me in the comments, but I have no idea what the M stands for. It was either ATM6 or ATM9. I don't know, but AT-AT and ATST had meanings for it: all terrain, attack, attack tank. I guess something like that. Yeah.
Anyway, I just love the use of the black, white, and red. Just like so much of that here. We make jokes about red, this being a red screen instead of a green screen, type of thing here. So, when we film Star Wars movies, we may use a red screen.
The red screen of death.
It was this whole throne room scene was pretty amazing, wasn't it?
The throne room scene was fantastic, and definitely the jaw dropper that I didn't see coming with Snoke's. I mean, we're gonna get into this in a little bit.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it.
But that was definitely I didn't see I didn't see that coming.
I didn't see it coming.
I just thought it was funny, the fact that everybody says all these things about how ridiculous it was. Just that Rey is just this badass. And I can see, everybody's saying, okay, she was a badass with a stick. She's great with a stick. She's great with a stick on Jakku. She had to be good at a stick, and I get all that. It's just, it's like, I guess the whole paradox is the whole, Luke training, etc. Anyway, this was really cool, these things, the switching of lightsabers, etc. We're going to get into all those things in a little bit. I'm just trying to think of, the highlights of this film. Here lies the main disappointment, the tossing over the shoulder. Were you a fan of this thing?
It was, I don't know. I felt like that wasn't something that Luke Skywalker would have done. Just toss it over his shoulder. Maybe Han Solo.
Maybe Han? You think Han?
Maybe Han would toss it over. I don't know. You never know.
Right.
But I think definitely, for me, I've told people, my favorite part was Chewbacca. Chewbacca coming at the very end when they're on Crate. He's coming through with the Millennium Falcon. Finn, they hate that ship. Oh, that was so good. And then him going through the mine, the red mine, the crystal mine, the salt mine, or whatever, and then the Battle of Endor music comes back, or the Astro music, whatever. It was total nostalgic, total Star Wars. Porg flying around, smacking the Millennium Falcon.
Are you talking about dun 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 dun?
Yeah, you guys all know what I'm talking about. That's what the movie did do good, and we can all agree. They brought the music back. They brought the Star Wars the feel sonically.
See, this was such a, I just have to say, this was such a big thing. I mean, it's like, what is? I mean, everybody was on the edge of the seat just when we saw this in the trailer. I mean, just this one scene. It's like everybody. I was like, you know, because it's it has history. It has real history to it. Luke, you know, like the Star Wars Theory video we saw, you know, Luke seeing it and having a tear come to his eye. All these things that could have happened. Anyway, once again, it's just a movie, right? It's just a movie. That's what everybody tells me every time I complain about it. Just a movie, damn it, you stupid Star Wars fan. What's your problem? Just a movie, damn it. Anyway, so yeah, this look on Luke's face really.
Well, too, the fact that they teased so much of his Force power, like, I don't know. After I saw it, someone immediately was like, "Oh, Rey kicked his butt. Like he got whooped. Like she handled him when they started fighting with the sticks." Actually, no, not at all. Actually, Luke like takes her out in like 3 moves, disarms her, and then she takes the lightsaber out, and then he uses the Force to still hold himself up. Like there's so many clues that were like, wow, this is the Luke we wanted to see, and then he's gone. And then he's gone.
Yeah, I felt that whole thing was a little bizarre, and of course everybody felt. And once again, it just comes back down to that thing where we are invested in Luke, and that's where it feels like a personal blow. And I think Ryan just failed to see that. He just failed to see that you're literally taking someone that we all identify with, something that all these diehard Star Wars fans like. He's the son of Anakin Skywalker. So you've got these 6 movies that have led this up anyway. So it's something that you feel. I remembered how I felt when that happened. I remember exactly how I felt when that happened. When he gets knocked down, he does the whole Matrix thing or whatever you want to call it. He's holding himself up, and I thought it was still really cool. But allowing her to just overtake it, it's fine. I don't know. I guess it's fine. So my biggest issue was this scene right here, because not this specific scene. This was before it, but I just don't have an image for it. But this is when Rey's like discovering it, I guess. But it's the scene when Yoda. I mean, I'm fine with a lot of people had serious problems with the Force powers, etc., and Force powers coming back in, or being able to wield the Force while they're Force Ghosts, etc. These interacting with the life, etc. Everything is fine. I mean, I was willing to all accept that, even though it just retcons a lot of stuff that has happened before. It's like, so then why didn't Obi-Wan, just help Luke defeat the Emperor? It's like that's what made me think. Is like, so if they can, anyway.
Or one thing I thought,
what I realized when I saw Yoda, is that in Empire Strikes Back, when Luke is seeing Ben, go to the Dagobah system.
Right.
And then Han just tauntauns through Kenobi, like just totally plows through, like a little bit of continuity
lost there, but still.
Well, but it's like, and then it just makes people think. Okay, so then if people could control things, why couldn't Obi-Wan pull Luke out of the snow and just carry him by the Force to something? It just makes you, and I get it. You want to do stuff new, Ryan. I get it. You want to do stuff that's new in Star Wars. I get it. But the problem is that you're retconning stuff, and it just makes people think, why didn't this happen then? Why didn't this happen? So anyway, it's just, there's a lot, you know what I mean? Like, why didn't Obi-Wan fight? That literally just came to mind right now. Like, why didn't, if that was the case, why didn't Obi-Wan help Luke fight the Emperor at the end of Return of Jedi? If that's the case,
That's one thing. That's a good point. There's another thing that just came to mind when you're talking about that is, one, we know that, or at least so far that we know canon-wise, Qui-Gon's the first Jedi to become one with the Force. If I'm right, someone could be mistaking me, but
according to Clone Wars, he was the one who was teaching Yoda to do it.
Yeah. So if he's teaching, maybe then Ben obviously adopted it. Yoda adopted it, became one with the Force, and maybe Yoda just upped the game. Maybe Yoda took it to a whole new level, and then he trains Luke to do it. I don't know, but
So it makes you wonder. it makes me wonder specifically, like, so who learned it and when, and we'll get that in a book or a TV show somewhere. And that's the problem, is that they're willing to have all these things happen, but then not explain them in the film, and so everybody's pissed about the film because there's a lot of people who don't read the other canon stuff. Like I do, I'm a canon addict, but, part member of Canon Addicts Anonymous. And then all these books, this whole other bull crap thing that happened with I'm sorry, this is a crappy image, apologize. But this whole thing happens with the books. And, just right before the movie came out, they had the whole story about, I forgot her name, she was fighting Vader in the Vader comic, and she's putting together the school, she's putting together that whole school thing. It's like, that was such a huge part of the story of everything, and like, look at all this important part about the books, there's so much importance to that. Literally 2 weeks later, Last Jedi came out, and Yoda just says burn it all. And I get it, Rey had it on the Falcon with her, but the point is that for him to say stuff like page turners they were not, stuff like that, crap like that, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because he's basically saying, oh, it's okay for you to not, you don't have to read, reading's boring. I mean, that's like what so many people got out of that.
Yeah, and I will say that while I loved seeing Yoda come back, this is kind of a tangent, but
it wasn't him. It didn't feel like Yoda. It sounded like Yoda because it was Frank Oz doing
Frank Oz and
everything, but it just didn't sound like him.
And the problem is that he acted too much like when Luke first met Yoda. Luke goes to Dagobah, right? Luke doesn't know who Yoda is. Yoda's giving him a test. Yoda's being a little shiz, like he's just being Yoda, right? That's how Yoda was acting when he came back. He was just not being a Jedi Master. He was just being a little annoying Yoda, like.
Right.
Yeah.
And that whole thing was like a test, thing that he did there, of course, and so it makes you wonder. But the biggest issue, once again, let's go back to this here.
Or what I guess I'm getting at though is that Luke didn't need a test. We all saw him. He's just being grumpy. He's hidden away. Rey's trying to get him to come help, and then Yoda shows up. He needs to be like mentor Yoda. He needs to, when Yoda and Obi-Wan are talking in Revenge of the Sith, that kind of Yoda, the serious Yoda,
right,
just telling Luke like, this is what needs to happen. No, he hits him on the head with a stick.
Yeah,
telling him page turners, these are not. Oh, young Skywalker, always looking to the horizon. The lines were good, but the vibe wasn't serious.
He's too playful.
Yeah, it was just so many people had said specifically like, so Yoda's still talking down to him like he's a child still. So I think that's the whole thing, is that and that a lot of people assess that as the film itself is like literally talking down to the audience like they're a child. So anyway, that's just my sense of it. I just realized it's like it did not feel like Yoda at all. I'm sorry, but it really didn't. And a lot of people still, even people who didn't like the movie were saying, oh, I like the Yoda scene. Well, it's just, and it's honestly, I really feel like it's because they're kind of hypnotized by his by his voice. Oh, it's Yoda talking. Let's listen. It's like this. It's like you're all of a sudden, you're like at church or something. So you have to listen to what he has to say.
You know what I feel like it was almost the equivalent of is putting Vader in Rogue One, but that fit because Vader was brutal in Rogue One. They didn't mess around. They shot him right. He was only in there for a little bit, but dude, he stole that movie. Everybody liked that scene. It could have been the same with Yoda. He could have came in, shown his Force lightning, shown his power, maybe be a little more serious, give Luke like a sit down one, still bonk him on the head, but not so laughy, so like, it's like when Obi-Wan goes to Yoda in episode 2, and he's teaching the Padawans. He's talking to Luke like he's teaching the Padawans, but 900-year-old he is. He can treat whoever he wants, however he wants, right?
And just after you mentioned that, thank you, because it just actually made me realize how much I really do love the prequels. And it's like, after this craziness that happened, it's like I love it. I love the story that happened there. I love the arc. I love the whole arc of Anakin. It's so good. And Obi-Wan. Anyway, we're going to get to that in a second. So just this whole thing was, It was fine. It just, I mean, so many people say yes. You know, they agree with Luke in this scene, saying, yeah, the Jedi were the big problem. They were the big issue. They were the big. It was their fault. That no, it wasn't. It was. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they allowed it to happen because they were defeated. But it's not like, I don't know. Just so many people have side with Luke in saying this, that it's like, oh my gosh, the Jedi were awful. No, they tried to stop it, but they didn't know what the hell they were stopping. I think that's the crazy thing in this, is that they didn't know what was coming. So anyway,
that's crazy.
It's like, how can you just blame? I mean, you can't just blame the Jedi. The Jedi were the concept of the Jedi was a good thing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it was a good. And that's what I don't like about the scene. That's my point. I'm pointing out this scene specific, saying that this scene, like with Luke, and saying, you know, he takes her to the, you know, there's the rock, or excuse me, forgive me, everybody.
The mural.
And it's supposed to. I think it's supposed to look like the first Jedi.
Light, the light in the dark.
Yeah. So anyway.
Well, if anything, I don't know. I completely disagree with Luke, because Ben Kenobi, when we're in his hut in A New Hope, the Jedi were the guardians, the masters, and the peacekeepers of the galaxy. I probably said that wrong. I know I said that wrong, but still, that's the point of it.
For 1,000 generations.
For 1,000 generations now, the Jedi are the peacekeepers of the galaxy. They were trying to do good. Like, Luke saying the Jedi need to end, I don't know. Like,
I mean, I get, and I've seen a million Rian Johnson interviews, and I get why he was saying what he was saying, and what you know, I get his reasoning for it. It still doesn't make sense. I mean, I get that his head was there, but it was like poorly executed. And I think once again, it just boils down to the fact that we hadn't seen Luke for so long. And it's like, if you had somehow painted us a picture of something beforehand to get him there, I would have believed it. And I think that was the main issue, is that none of us could believe that he was there, because it was such a drastic change, and we hadn't seen any of the story beforehand. It was just like this different person. And once again, like I've said before in my other film videos, it's like, I didn't believe it was him. I of course, Mark Hamill's, you know, he's brilliant, amazing. I love Mark Hamill. I was like, you know, I was saying, you know, let's get him an Oscar, or, you know, get him nominated at least. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents on it. He really deserved better. He deserved that better, and that just didn't. It just didn't. I think none of us believed that it was him. That's the problem, is that you don't believe it's him if he's doing something. So, anything to add to that before we move on?
Yeah, just that if Episode 9 comes back, Luke comes back as a Force apparition like we're hoping, and he starts using Force powers like we're hoping, and he's just this omnipotent being, you know what? I'll be totally okay with the way he acted in this movie. If Episode 9 is the way we hope, and the way they're kind of like teasing it to be, Episode 8 will be great. It'll be The Force Awakens. It'll be like, oh, yeah, it was just a reboot. We have The Last Jedi, where it's kind of the, whoa, what's going on? Snoke's died. Oh, Luke is being a little wuss, and then 9 comes in. Snoke's comes back. Luke's back. Force power. Rey, Kylo. It could be big. It could be big, and I know you're pessimistic, but I am hopeful. I have faith.
No, and it just means I don't think that'll happen at all, but just because they're too scared of what everybody would think. I don't know. But yeah, I think that would be, and especially with all the things, the new things they showed with Yoda being able to do these Force abilities, etc., while he's a Force ghost, showing all these things. Anyway, there was something else I was going to say, and I can't remember what it is, but I think we'll have to come back to it. So, anyway, there were so many great stories out there, like other ways that this could have been done, and it could have been done a lot of ways, but anyway, yeah, but I think, honestly, the one way that, oh yeah, I remember what I was going to say now. So, in regards specifically to this, especially, this whole scene with, like, the temple being burned down, it's like, I wanted to see Luke's students. I want to see these guys who became the Knights of Ren. I guess if that's what happened. I don't know exactly what happened. But I think if Kathleen Kennedy wants to win people back at all, if she wants to win anyone back, there are so many people who have written off Star Wars entirely. I mean, you've seen, you know. I mean, completely written them off. If she wants to win anyone back, if she wants to win any of these Star Wars fans back, she's got to make a Luke movie. They've got to make a Luke film about young Luke and have Sebastian Stan play him. But I honestly, this is just my pessimism. I don't think they'll ever do it. She'll never do it because of all these things. But I just don't think she'll ever do that. But honestly, Kathleen, if you ever see this, which I'm sure you won't, but that's what you need to do. If you want to win people back, if you want to get us back, if you want to get us Luke fans back, you make a freaking trilogy about Luke and Kylo. And Luke, or just Luke, just right after Return of the Jedi, you could have Sebastian Stan just like getting, or the Shattered Empire comic shows Luke getting those Force trees. Have you seen that whole? Have you read that comic? Anyway,
some of it.
It's a great. It's an amazing. It's not that long. It's a great story arc. How he goes to like some Emperor's outpost and gets these Force sensitive trees, and Poe Dameron's family has one now, and all this stuff. So it may lead you to believe that Poe is like some Force sensitive, etc. All these things, and it's like one of those trees. I think one of those trees, one of those Force trees in that comic, is the tree that Yoda burns down. Which is really crazy.
That is
crazy. But it's like a Force sensitive tree. So anyway, I'm just thinking anyway. So that is something that you got to do. If you got to make us another Luke movie. But I know once again my pessimism. I don't think it'll ever happen. So I was totally cool with Kylo getting rid of the helmet. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I really liked.
I was fine with that.
I really liked the scene immediately after Snoke's where he first goes in. Take that thing off. I think that's what he...
Ridiculous.
Yeah, take that ridiculous thing off. And then he goes in the elevator. I don't know, some people were like, he looks like he's about to cry. Kylo exhibits some things I wish we would have seen from Anakin in the prequels. Some more some bursting out. I don't know. Like, he killed the Tusken Raiders. He killed the little kids. He does a lot more in Clone Wars as far as lashing out. But yeah, and he's slaughtered. Oh my god,
slaughtered.
And he hates sand, so that's another one. But
poor Hayden.
Yeah,
I actually really like Hayden a lot. I think he's great.
I love the outlashes from Kylo. Loved
him in this video. Loved him so much.
So this is cool. Yeah, this was great. This is really cool. I mean, the imagery is just undoubtedly beautiful. It's a beautiful film. It's just like, but and I think that's the issue is that a lot of people had with it is that all those things outweighed the actual characters. A lot of people had issues with this scene specifically because of the ability, like before in Star Wars, for so long it was so hard to for just a TIE fighter could just come up and shoot a few blaster bolts and blam, they're destroyed. Anyway, any thoughts on that?
Explain what this.
This is just like when
which part is
it's just their resistance is being kind of just Kylo. It's Kylo's ship. He's going after.
Oh, that scene. Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, this is just nitpicky stuff. So anyway, but beautiful art direction, still amazing. But of course, this was our little moment where you get to see that. Okay, so we
and that moment is kind of where there's not many times it hints in the movie that maybe Kylo's gonna go back to the light side. Some people think that, some people don't. That scene where he's gonna blast Leia and he doesn't.
Yeah.
That's some conflict in him right there.
But the way that you once again, and everybody said this, that you help to make that stronger is that you make that you show them in a scene together. You see Kylo and Leia, and so anyway, she's in a coma for the rest of this thing. Did you hate or love or indifferent about Mary Poppins, Leia?
I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I was okay with her being dead because, like, when he blasted, when he was going to shoot the ship and then the TIE fighter does it anyways, I was fine with it. I was like, oh, well, Leia's dead. Like, Carrie Fisher's gone, rest in peace. But it felt like a good way. And then she married Poppins back to the ship. The only thing I complain about is, like, yeah, we know Leia has the Force, but we've seen it from Empire Strikes Back where she can feel, she can sense. That should have been the extent of her ability without any training. I mean, flying through the air, Mary Poppins. But on the flip side, you could argue that Rey was strapped down to a BDSM chair by Kylo, and then she manipulates a stormtrooper like Jedi mind trick first try. So,
yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, that argument's kind of invalid, but Yeah.
I just remember being so surprised and just not knowing. I mean, and so many people were just like, I remember the exact reaction. Everybody was just like, people were laughing. People were just like, what the? And there was just so much weirdness going on in the theater. I just remember like so many different reactions and so many people being just flabbergasted, but then people just loving it, and it's just the weirdest thing possible. And I get it. I mean, and it's like I think we all wanted Leia Force abilities from Leia. I've wanted to see Leia kicking butt as a Jedi when at a young age, right after Return of the Jedi. Like that's the movie you make. You make a movie. You want to make strong female characters. You make another movie about Leia, and you have her learn anyway. Whatever. Okay. So moving on. Once again, that's the scene we were talking about. Just shoots like 2 or 3 blaster bolts and blam, the place is just, the entire ship is destroyed. I mean, I get it, it's fine, but it's just like that's never been done before. Whatever. Once again.
No, it has been done before. When the AT-AT in Empire Strikes Back falls to the ground, and then the snowspeeder blasts it twice in the neck, and the whole thing blows up.
Yeah, which is fine. But to me personally, that's my 10, 12, 15, 12-year-old self when that came out, or whatever how old I was. That was because the shields were down. When it was knocked down, it's like the shields were down. Yeah, so that's the whole point that everybody has arguments with about this whole thing, and I don't mean to take this forever. This is just stupid nitpicky stuff. But again, it's just about like the shields, and like whenever you see like blaster boats go get most things in the Star Wars universe, you see them dissolve against the thing because it has shields on it. So anyway, whatever. Who cares? So we're gonna go on. We're gonna move on. This is once again he blows up the whole hangar area. It's really just beautiful stuff, I guess. Poor Leia. I mean, I was fine with it, and I think that if they should have, once again that they should have let Carrie Fisher's end be right there, rather than bringing her back, and now we have to see her in the crawl. We see her die in the crawl. I've been always for recasting Leia, having her story continue. Of course, no one else agrees with me. That's fine. I don't care. It's no big deal. It's just that's my 2 cents on it. But they'll never recast her. All we'll get from Leia's passing away is from just her being. Leia has passed away in the blah 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 battle of the blah blah blah, and that's all we'll get. So
yeah, I have no idea what they're gonna do with that. I mean,
yeah, it's sad.
Yeah,
because I loved Carrie, I loved Leia. Anyway, it's sad. So
it is sad.
We'll move on from that. I don't want to dwell. So anyway, we're gonna get to our thing. Let's get to. Please leave comments if you even care about this stuff. If you care anymore. I still love Star Wars, even though all this madness has happened. But we're now coming to a segment that Alex likes to call
the 3 reasons why we know that Snoke is alive.
Snoke
has to be alive, at least from the movie standpoint, from the writing standpoint. He has got to be alive, and we all know it. We all want it. He is okay. Let's dive right in. So number 1, he knew. He knew when Kylo walks in with Rey, he walks in, my apprentice, my faith has been restored. He knew. He knew. It's very reminiscent to the Palpatine scene where Palpatine and Vader and Luke are there. Palpatine can sense the anger. Strike me down with all of your hatred. Like it was the same thing. Snoke knew. Luke, Force pulls his lightsaber right, goes to attack Vader. Palpatine didn't react. He knew. Snoke knew Kylo was going to kill him. So that just plays into he's still alive. He knew.
Did you?
I was just gonna say literally. Like, I mean, he's describing everything that's happening as it's happening. So if you want to totally say, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Number 2, a little bit of more of a side point, but I'm saving the best for last. The dice that Luke gives Leia, and why does this really matter? Well, you hear a lot of people, Plagueis got chopped in half, his body was on the ground, Hux comes in the room, his body's still on the ground, he's gonna shoot Kylo, it doesn't happen, scene's over. Long story short, the body was still there. Now, if we remember, Luke is on Ahch-To, right? He does the Force projection. He's on Crate. He sees Leia. He kisses Leia. He gives Leia the dice that he took from the Millennium Falcon. She has them in her hands. He goes out. He does his thing. Luke dies. He disappears. He becomes one with the Force. Whatever. The dice are still there. They're still there. Kylo walks into the base. On the ground, the golden dice. This is after Luke has disappeared. He picks up the golden dice. They are there. And then the projection goes away. This is canon that the projection can hold. The projection can hold after the user is gone, or maybe a certain amount of energy is put into it. All I'm saying is that Snoke's body there doesn't mean jack.
So isn't, I mean, and a lot, I think this is just to bring this up, because I've heard people saying in passing and tweeting about it, just that Luke, because Luke's force projection of himself, billions of miles away, was something different other than himself. And so you see when this new projection of Snoke in the film, that you see that you're saying that he's projecting himself, right? That's essentially what you're saying.
Yep.
And seeing that people have said because he looks very different than the Force Awakens. So that's just so that's back up to back that up to whatever
He does look different than the Force Awakens. In the Force Awakens, he looks a lot more disfigured. Compared to the Last Jedi. Now, number 3, the biggest point, which even if they don't have Snoke come back in the next movie, this third point, the way they wrote it, it has to. The mind connection between Kylo and Rey. So when they first connect minds, right? Do you guys remember this? When they first connect minds.
Force Skype.
Force Skype. Hey, what
Force
up,
Skype.
dude? How you doing? You want to cyber Skype Force? Have a naughty time.
Just gotta get my Force Wi-Fi turned on.
You made me lose my concentration.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
The mind connection. The mind connection. Yes. When they first establish the connection, Rey is freaking out. She's like, "You monster! You killed your only father!" Blah 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 blah. She's not really paying attention, right? If you look at Kylo, though, he is the complete opposite. He's calm. He literally says, "What's happening? Who's doing this? Are you doing this? This can't be you. The strain would kill you. It's not me." He confirms it's neither of them. Movie goes on, right? Snoke confirms, "Oh, hey, I was the one doing that to you. I was the one who connected your feeble minds." He was the one who made Rey see that Kylo would turn, which is kind of another... He put that in her head. He saw it coming. End of the movie, what happens? We see the rebels getting on the Millennium Falcon. We see Rey chilling at the top, and all of a sudden, they're connected through the Force again. They're connected through the Force. It's for that split moment. They're looking at each other, and they fly
away. And isn't she's like, I think she's like literally like, she's like standing on the Falcon and looking outside, and he's there again. So I can't remember. Do you remember if there was like an exchange of words or anything there?
No, it was just an exchange. You're right, actually. I don't believe there was an exchange of words. I swear it's just, they're looking at each other. She turns her back. They fly away. They were connected. She wasn't doing that. She was not exerting any force. He was not exerting anything. That had to be Snoke's. It has to be Snoke's.
I love how you say Snoke's, like there's several of them.
Snokes.
The Snoke's family.
The Snokes.
So that's incredible stuff, and I just have a question for you. So you were to say something about the dice. What is their significance in this story here that you're talking about? You were talking about them disappearing because the dice, the several dice, I don't know, whatever, the pair of dice, whatever, it doesn't disappear until afterwards, right?
Yeah. So
what's the significance of that?
The significance is that the Force projection. What that tells me is the Force projection can stay.
So it's kind of delayed. Okay.
Yeah. What other reason is there to show?
Because
it shows them disappear.
Yeah.
It shows them disappear.
Exactly. Like, we really have no... so there's no reason why Kylo would be connected to the dice. We haven't seen a story. There hasn't been a flashback. There hasn't been, "Oh, my daddy gave me these dice and I gave him back. They're Han Solo's, blah, blah." There's no connection emotionally. So why else is it showing that scene of him picking up the dice and then they disappear? Like, I don't know. It was kind of like the rules of the Force have changed. Like, now that Yoda showed up and he interacted with the environment. The Force dice being physical, these Force projections being physical. It's just, Snoke isn't gone. He's too powerful. He is too powerful. He's not gone. We're gonna see him again.
Yeah, and to just go back to it, and I just think it's such an interesting thing, and once again, anybody who thinks, oh, I'm just a fanboy, your stupid theories didn't work out, you theorized, your theories didn't work. No, it's not that. I'm fine with. We're all fine. Everyone is fine with change and difference of characters, people changing. You just got to have stuff to back it up. And so anyway, that's my rant about that. But honestly, I actually, when that scene first happened and Snoke gets, cut in half. I mean, that was crazy. And it was like, holy crap, I was blown away. And so, and all the diehard Snoke fans, and that's fine. I get it. I mean, I get why that would upset you. But honestly, I mean, a lot of people thought he was a red herring, etc., all these things. So I was fine with him dying right there. And I'm fine if he doesn't come back. So, but
I will say one thing. I'm glad that if you look back at all the Star Wars movies, if I'm not mistaken, in every single one, somebody gets a limb chopped off. Somebody gets. We talked about this. There's only one movie that it doesn't have. No, every single one, doesn't it? Every single movie.
Who gets it in? Oh yeah. Well, Maul gets sawed in half.
Yeah.
Maul gets sawed in half, but does Obi-Wan doesn't lose anything? So Obi-Wan doesn't lose anything. I'm trying to think of who else loses. Who loses something in Phantom Menace? Is it just Maul? That's it?
Yeah, Maul gets chopped in half in Phantom Menace. We have Anakin's arm getting chopped off in Episode 2. Of course, Episode 3. I mean, we got Anakin again getting chopped off. A New Hope, if you count Obi-Wan, but I don't really count that, but I count Ponda Baba getting his arm chopped off. And then we have Empire Strikes.
Who?
Ponda Baba. I can't remember the guys. The other.
It's okay.
No.
I'll look it up later.
When Luke is at the cantina.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah, of course.
Yeah, Ponda Baba. You're like, you better watch yourself. I have the death sentence in 12 systems.
That's right.
And it'll be okay. You'll be dead. And then Ponda Baba, the fucking punching for the face.
You know what I'm talking about.
Isn't one of the most favorite iconic moments of A New Hope? You know what I'm talking about? It's just look.
Yeah.
I think he's looking at his own. It's just this random weird arm. Anyway. Okay, so let's move on. Unless you.
Oh no, yeah. So Ponda Baba gets his arm chopped off. Empire Strikes Back. Luke gets his hand chopped off, and then Return of the Jedi. Vader gets his robotic hand chopped off. I think that's really the only thing. But anyway, Snoke's dying, getting chopped in half. That felt so good. The Force Awakens had no de-limbing, no nothing like that. So that was nice.
Did anybody lose their limb in TFA? No?
No. The Force Awakens? No one lost their limbs. That's why I didn't like it. That's what I didn't like about the lightsaber fighting. But Snoke's getting chopped in half. That was awesome. Overall, the Snoke's dying, that was definitely the gasp it needed. But no, I disagree. He's gonna be back.
Yeah.
He's too powerful. And the Andy Serkis comment that he recently made about how he knows, he literally says that, I was surprised when...
Oh, that's right.
I was surprised when I first read it. It belonged where it needed to be. But he literally says gosh, let me pull it up. I was reading it just earlier today, and the tease that he's going to be back. He literally says, oh man, this is going to take a minute.
Okay, no, it's okay. We were gonna have that pulled up, but we just didn't. But he does talk about it. A lot of people think he's gonna come back and be a different motion capture, a motion capture of a different character. But anyway, yeah, having so come back, that I'd be fine with that. It would just be a bizarre thing to see. Have him come back as a Sith ghost. Your prediction is he'll come back as a Sith ghost, maybe?
I would love it.
That would make the most sense. Right?
That would make the most sense.
Either that, or if like you were saying before, if he's just being projected, then he could just be actually just regular alive Snoke.
He could be regular alive Snoke, or he could have already been a Force apparition like Yoda, and he's projecting himself because he's that strong.
but that just brings to also like, so then if he is still alive, you've got Rey versus Kylo and Snoke, or Rey and Kylo teaming up against Snoke, or the three of them just all fighting three different ways. Like, I would love to see that, specifically like in a Star Wars movie, seeing three different Sith Lords or two Sith fighting each other and a Jedi. Like, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
And that's what I actually want. I had these crazy predictions about, you know, things that would happen with TLJ, and I just thought it would be great to have like three different sides, have them all like have Rey just have these conflicts, whatever, and then have to fight against Kylo. And I pictured all three of them fighting each other, like Luke, Rey, and Kylo, all three of them fighting each other on Octo. So anyway,
I will say though, the final scene of Luke being projected when he goes and they do the fight, like even though they didn't clash, the sabers didn't technically clash, dude. I mean, that was still a sweet fight sequence, and just see you around, kid. Like, that was great. Have you seen the 16-bit version of the ending of The Last Jedi? You seen that, Ben?
Oh yes, of course, man. I watched it like a few times, and I wept like a baby the second time. I just in all, just to go. I mean, there's all these people had trouble with Luke and Kylo's fight at the end, etc. My thing was like, of course, everybody takes a bath in nostalgia from this ending when you see the two twin sons, and I did too. I wept like a baby because you get your moments, and of course John Williams brings back the original theme right there,
Sunset.
which the binary, but it's kind of stupid because it doesn't make any. I mean, in retrospect, you think about it, and it's like it doesn't make any sense because the planet really doesn't have two suns, and okay, so he's just reliving a moment back in his life when he was young, I guess, as he's dying or as he's turning into a Force entity or whatever, and that's fine, I guess. But in retrospect, you think about it, and it's actually just kind of like a nostalgia grab. That's my negative part of it. Once again, in all, I did enjoy the scene when I first saw it, but it's like at the same time you think about it, and it's like that's all it is. It's just a nostalgia grab. There's no reason for him to see two suns there. The two suns existed on Tatooine, and they were a symbol, or they're just a symbol of him being a younger Luke, a Luke that is dedicated to taking on the world. Or taking on the universe. He wants to take on the galaxy and going and doing things. So, anyway,
you know what? If there is any shot that they just put in, I'm totally okay with that one, because that definitely was just like that. The feeling in your bosom when Luke was sitting there in the binary sunset and the double suns, and then he fades away, except we can all agree that his hand should have been there. His mechanical hand should have held down the rope, but that's okay. Well, again, the scene was so intense that I'll let it go.
Well, it's like one of those things where, and they interviewed Ryan about it. He's just like, we forgot about that. It's like, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's like, and I get it. I mean, I don't shame him for that. It's like, I realize these are all crazy mistakes, and these are things that happens in filmmaking. I mean, you have a deadline to make. You got a budget. You got people. You got 1 million people that you have to, get together. You have to coordinate everybody's schedule. But you should have just wrote something a little cooler. That's all my opinion is of. So anyway, this is a great painting of Luke here. Isn't this amazing? So, anyway, so in all of that, the ending and everything, it was fine at ending. But yeah, hopefully you guys checked out the 16-bit ending. It's way cool. I forgot even who that is, but whoever is making those, they are awesome.
Just type. Sorry, we'll put a link in the description. Yeah. But 16-bit Last Jedi ending.
Yeah, that's all I need to.
Sorry for the not giving the credit where it's deserved. It really is.
It really is
so
amazing. It really is
so
amazing. And I'm sure anybody who's watching this video has seen it already. So, anyway, it's just running into images here. So, getting back into... So, just really quickly, we'll touch on the the standalone movies. Of course, and this is just going back on some of the things we talked about before. My my big fear is that because Han Solo, if Han Solo does bad, or just doesn't do financially well, that Obi-Wan will get pushed back. This is just once again, it's my pessimism. It's just my thought. It's because they're the studio. They're a studio and they have to watch them. They part of them will be like, oh my gosh, it's just a standalone movie and it didn't do well. So therefore, maybe we should watch out anyway. That's just my opinion. It's like, come on, like this is just my speculation. But it's like, come on, like Ewan McGregor's ready. The fans want it. We all want an Obi-Wan movie. He is the best part of that entire trilogy, I think, just my opinion, and I think many people agree, hopefully.
It's Suburba! He always wins! He's the best part. No. We would love an Obi-Wan movie.
I really would.
Obi-Wan movie would.
So, and I know that I always plug this thing, but, if you haven't read this book, it is one of my favorite, it's Legends, it's not canon. But it might as well freaking be canon. Whoever is making the Obi-Wan movie should be reading this book. If they should be reading this damn book because it's so damn good. He fights a crate dragon in the desert. Who doesn't want it anyway? It's a beautiful book. It's the scope of it is a Lucas cinematic production. The scope of it, the way everything is described, the imagination, it's beautiful. So there's my Obi-Wan shrine there. So everybody, just know that I want the Obi-Wan Kenobi film to happen. I don't think it will. So what would you say to them having Vader in there?
Having Vader in
Obi-Wan.
I don't know if I'd like to see Vader, but what I would like to see, and I believe that this moment may already be canon in a comic book or whatever, I want to see the moment that Obi-Wan finds out he's still alive. That Vader is still alive.
Well, because and more than that, just in addition to some of the things, like he says, he's more machine now than man, right? He says that in A New Hope.
Yeah.
He's Vader. He's more machine now than man. There is at some point he figures that out. Does he just automatically know? He's got to find it. The last time we've seen them together...
You're actually right.
The last time we've seen them together, he saw him on the edge of the lava river. The lava river. He's just lying there burning to death, and Obi-Wan thinks that he's... Anyway, so...
That's a very good point, though. I had never even thought of that, is that he would have to have seen him again. He would have had to have seen him or heard about him
or somehow confirmed in the Force. And it's like if he runs into Vader at some point and sees him, it's like he's got to think of. It's like he would sense that it's him.
He would know.
But it's like he's got to be somewhat close to him to know that, or does he like just be able to Force project his Force knowledge and just know? That's just one of the things that people wouldn't mind having explained, especially with how. I wouldn't mind explaining. I don't know if anybody else cares. I would love that explained. And especially, what is he, in Return of the Jedi? Luke says, I know there's still good in you. Vader's response. What does he say? Obi-Wan once thought as you did.
Obi-Wan once thought as you did.
Because he said there's still good in you. So it's like he alludes to so much of there's more than just what we've seen. There is more than just anyway. That's my 2 cents on it. Like in the last, the 40th year anniversary book, there is a stupid story in there because they have a million stories. There's like 40 different stories that were written. A lot of them are really crappy. There's like a Boba Fett story there's a Boba Fett story in there that John Hamm actually does the voice for, so it's actually hilarious. So you're hearing Don Draper do Boba Fett. It's actually kind of funny. But anyway, but in that book, there's a short story in there that kind of confirms that it actually says the last time I saw Vader, he was on, and it's Obi-Wan talking. So I have a feeling they won't bring Vader. This is just my 2 cents on it. I don't think that they will bring Vader into this movie, but if it ever gets made, and I don't think it's going to get made, that's just my opinion. That's just my speculation. I don't think they're going to make an Obi-Wan movie. I think that they're going to go right into this Rian Johnson trilogy, and it's honestly, I think this is just my awful, horrible prediction. I just think that, honestly, after Episode 9, it's going to be the very next year. It's going to be Rian Johnson's new trilogy's going to start. And anyway, that's just my pessimism. Any more thoughts on Ewan McGregor before we continue?
He
Or
reprise his role. Yeah, we all know he will reprise his role.
Yeah.
We all want to see an Obi-Wan movie. I hate to say it, but I think you might be right as far as just Disney pumping out the next generation. It's almost like they're just like... It's almost like they're just finishing up this sequel trilogy just to get it out of the way. Yeah, just to get rid of, oh, well, now it's done. Let's make way for the new, the new kids and the new fans and the new story. And
which is fine. I get it. You want to keep people interested. You want to keep the young people into Star Wars. I get it. I was a kid growing up on Star Wars, but it's just like, it's like you still have like this huge fan base. When a band has a fan base, they still try to please their old fans and their new fans. Anyway,
this is all I'm saying for the new trilogy. The moment they stray away from the Force, Jedi, Sith, that's when you're gonna start losing Star Wars fans.
Yeah,
dude, that's what it's about. It's about the Jedi. It's about the Force. That's what it's about. But see, Rogue One is still cool though, because there's so much. May the Force be with you. There's all this. There's all that. So in this new trilogy, if they just go into this whole Thrawn and and maybe some people are thinking that, I don't know. They just better keep the Jedi. They better keep the lore. They better keep the Force. That's what I want.
Yeah, and I think that was the biggest issue with The Last Jedi, is that people they felt like the lore, Luke Skywalker, the lore, everything, all the previous 7 films had been betrayed. That's just what it comes down to. So anyway, and it just, my last 2 cents about The Last Jedi, it just didn't feel like it was part of it didn't feel like it was part of the previous 7 films. It felt like it was something else completely different. And I think a lot of people agree with me on that. A lot of people agree with me on that. Continuing on, we're just going to wrap this up with trying to talk about the Solo film. I am somewhat optimistic for this. You gotta love Ron Howard. You love Apollo 13. What a great flickety flick. I saw that in theater when it first came out. You gotta love him. He's great, and I don't think it'll be interesting to see what happens here.
I think everybody's pessimistic about it. Just honestly,
yeah.
Like Force Awakens, right? Like I wouldn't say here, wouldn't say there. Definitely not bad. Rogue One, I personally loved it, but it was one some people really didn't like it. But see, we went up, now we're back down, right? The Last Jedi. I feel like we're gonna be disappointed. I feel like we're gonna get disappointed. There's gonna be a huge backlash, and then Episode 9 is gonna be what we want. You know what? I'm okay with having it happen that way. I'm okay with the Solo movie tanking, so that everybody freaks out and that we get the Episode 9 we want, we deserve, we need.
Yeah, I would just love to see Luke come back in 9 and see something happen there. Something great happening with Luke. Like, people call Last Jedi the redemption of Luke, etc. It didn't need to be redeemed. Rian Johnson needs to be redeemed. Anyway, sorry.
Rian Johnson, your soul needs to be redeemed. You screwed Luke over. You struck him down in hatred, and now the fans will forever be with you. I can guarantee.
We should do that. Would anyone fund that if we made a movie called The Redemption of Rian Johnson? Would you guys fund that, or would you guys help us fund that on Patreon? Because I would love to we're gonna make movies, and I would love it if we could get some funding on that.
Or let us know. Teaser for the future. I don't even know if I'm supposed to, but one day.
We're gonna be talking Plagueis. You mean talking about Plagueis movie?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
I have plans. I have ideas for Plagueis shorts that I want to do, and anyway, if you guys are into that, please subscribe, because it's like gotta pay for that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
You want to see Plagueis, don't you? Don't you people? Have you heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis? I thought not. So you subscribe and we're gonna teach you everything. Everything, and you
can't learn it from a Jedi. So,
not from a Jedi. Plagueis is the greatest book in the world. Okay, we've talked enough. Hopefully, you are not screaming and running around your house saying, "Shut up, shut up." These guys are no, I was kidding. Hopefully, you liked it and you don't think we're silly idiots. Once again, I have been Ben Johnson. You can find me at BonJabon on Twitter. I love talking Star Wars. Please shoot me a message or something or anything. And thanks again for watching. And this is Alex.
Gold Lita.
Where can they reach you, Gold Lita?
Gold Lita. I don't know. I'll keep you
on
updated.
Facebook. What's your name on Facebook?
Alexander Bell.
Seriously.
And it's a telephone icon.
You can reach me on the phone.
Hey, thanks again, and have a great night. Appreciate you guys.